It started with the Mountain Dew. Not the regular kind, the new one they just rolled out at the Sheetz on 17th Street in Altoona. I was there with Chloe. It was late, maybe 11 on a Tuesday, and the only reason we were out was because her apartment had lost hot water again and her landlord was, in her words, a useless sack of shit. So we'd driven the 5 minutes from her place to mine, but I had no food, and we were both buzzing from a weird, restless energy that comes from having nothing to do in a town where everything closes by 10. We could go to Sheetz, I'd said, and she'd shrugged, that fluid, effortless motion that made the thin strap of her tank top slip down her tan shoulder. I could eat a mozzarella stick or 12. So we went. The Sheetz was its usual fluorescent lit self, a beacon of artificial day in the Pennsylvania night. It was mostly empty. A trucker was paying for diesel at the counter, his movements slow and tired. A couple of teenagers were loitering by the roller grill, not talking, just scrolling on their phones. The hum of the coolers was the loudest sound. Chloe went to the restroom and I headed for the self-serve drink station. It was a new one, a big, futuristic-looking tower with a digital screen that promised over 100 flavors. I'm a creature of habit, so I went for the Mountain Dew. I pressed the button, and the cup began to fill with that familiar neon green. But when I took the first sip, it wasn't Mountain Dew. It was something else. For a second, my brain short-circuited. The taste was overwhelmingly specific. It was the taste of the plastic liner of my childhood lunchbox, the one with the faded X-Men on it. It was the taste of the thermos of lukewarm Kool-Aid my mom would pack, mixed with the faint, metallic tang of the school water fountain. It was the smell of sun-baked asphalt on the playground in July, and the feeling of grass stains on my knees. It was a memory, a whole vivid sensory memory, dumped directly onto my tongue. I pulled the cup away from my lips and stared at it. It looked like Mountain Dew. It smelled like Mountain Dew. I took another, smaller sip. There it was again, the lunchbox, the playground, the specific, forgotten ache of being 8 years old and waiting for the final bell. What's wrong? You look like you just saw a ghost. Chloe was back. She leaned against the counter next to the drink station, and my focus shattered. She was wearing tight, faded jeans and that gray tank top. As she leaned, the fabric stretched across her chest, and I could see the distinct outline of her bra through the thin material. The neckline dipped, offering a shadowy glimpse of the smooth, warm-looking skin between her breasts. My mouth was suddenly dry for a different reason. Nothing, I said too quickly. This tastes weird. Let me see. She took the cup from my hand, her fingers brushing against mine. A little jolt, stupid and predictable, went through me. I watched her lips, glossy with some kind of pink balm, press against the rim where my lips had just been. She took a sip. She frowned. Tastes like Mountain Dew to me, maybe a little flat. She handed it back. You're just tired. Maybe I was. I dumped the cup out and got a Coke. It tasted like Coke. We got our food, my mozzarella sticks, her chicken tenders and fries, and sat in a booth by the window. The night outside was a deep, empty black, punctuated only by the red glow of the Sheetz sign. I tried to forget about the drink. I focused on Chloe. She was telling a story about her coworker, Maya, and some drama at the dental office where they worked as receptionists. I was only half listening. I was watching the way her mouth moved, the way her tongue darted out to catch a crumb from her lip. I was watching her hands, the delicate bones of her wrists as she gestured. She had kicked her sandals off under the table, and I could see her bare feet, the nails painted a chipped, dark burgundy. The strap of one sandal had left a faint, pink indent on the pale skin of her instep. I had a sudden, intrusive image of taking her foot in my hand, of pressing my thumb into that mark, of feeling the fine bones shift under her skin. The thought was so vivid and so inappropriate for the setting that I felt a hot flush of guilt. That's when I first saw him. He was standing by the magazine rack, not looking at the magazines, but looking at our booth. He was a tall, gaunt man, maybe in his late 40s, with hair the color of dirty dishwater and a face that seemed both sharp and soft at the same time. He was wearing a beige windbreaker, even though it was a mild night, and dark, ill-fitting trousers. There was nothing overtly threatening about him, but the way he was just standing there perfectly still, his gaze fixed on us, sent a cold trickle down my spine. What? Chloe asked, catching my shift in attention. That guy, I murmured, nodding slightly towards the magazine rack. She glanced over, then back at me, a small, teasing smile playing on her lips. What about him? You jealous he's checking me out? I forced a laugh. No, it's just he's staring. People stare, marked that it's a public place. She popped a fry in her mouth. Maybe he's just lonely. I looked back. The man was gone. The magazine rack area was empty. A shiver, light and quick, passed through me that I chalked it up to the weird drink and my own tiredness that we finished eating and decided to get one more drink for the road. Chloe wanted to try one of the new flavor shots in her Diet Coke. We went back to the soda fountain. The machine was quiet now, the teenagers and the trucker were gone. It was just us and the cashier, a bored-looking kid with acne who was wiping down the counter with a gray rag. Chloe was experimenting, pressing buttons for cherry, vanilla, and lime. A custom cocktail, she said, grinning at me. Her hips swayed slightly as she shifted her weight from one foot to the other, the denim tightening across her thighs. That I leaned against the machine watching her, trying to recapture the light mood from before. I decided to give the Mountain Dew another try. Maybe it had been a fluke, a one-off contamination in the line. That I pressed the button. The cup filled. That I took a sip. This time, it was the taste of my first kiss. Jessica Morris behind the bleachers in 9th grade. It was the waxy fake cherry taste of her lip gloss, the faint coppery taste of blood from where our teeth had clumsily bumped, the smell of her shampoo, strawberry herbal essences, and the overwhelming, terrifying, exhilarating rush of adolescent lust. It was so potent, so real, that I could feel the rough texture of the concrete wall against my back, see the dappled light through the wooden bleacher slats. I gasped and dropped the cup. It hit the floor with a plastic crack, splattering neon green liquid all over the white tiles. Jesus, Mark! Chloe jumped back, her drink sloshing. What is your problem tonight? I couldn't speak. I was back in my body, in the sheets, my heart hammering against my ribs. The taste was fading, but the memory, the feeling, was clinging to me like a film. I slipped, I stammered, bending down to pick up the shattered cup. The cashier came over with a mop and bucket. No worries, man, happens all the time. As I was gathering the big pieces of plastic, I saw him again. The man in the windbreaker. He was sitting in a booth in the far corner, the one shrouded in shadow from a broken overhead light. He wasn't looking at me this time. He was staring intently at the soda fountain tower, a small, almost hungry smile on his thin lips. I got rid of the mess and told Chloe I needed some air. I stepped outside into the humid night. The parking lot was vast and poorly lit. I leaned against the brick wall of the building, taking deep breaths, trying to steady myself. What the hell was happening? Was I having a stroke? Some kind of psychotic break? The door hissed open and Chloe stepped out. Okay, seriously, what is going on with you? You've been twitchy all night. It's that machine, I said, my voice low. There's something wrong with it. The Mountain Dew, it didn't taste like soda. It tasted like memories. She looked at me like I'd grown a second head. Memories? Specific ones. My lunchbox. My first kiss. It was like drinking a memory. She was silent for a moment, studying my face. The neon sign cast a red glow on one side of her face, leaving the other in shadow. It highlighted the perfect line of her cheekbone, the curve of her jaw. I had the urge to reach out and trace it with my finger. Mark, she said, her voice softer now. You've been working too many late shifts. You're stressed. It's just soda. It's not, I insisted, but I could hear how crazy I sounded. Let's just go home. You're home. We can watch a movie or something. Take your mind off it. She put a hand on my arm. Her touch was warm, reassuring. I looked down at her. The neckline of her tank top had gaped slightly with the movement, and I could see the delicate lace edge of her bra. The contrast between the sheer visceral terror I'd felt moments before and the sharp, primal pull of desire I felt looking at her was dizzying. It was all getting mixed up together. Fear and lust, a toxic, confusing cocktail. Yeah, I said, my voice hoarse. Okay, let's go. As we walked to my car, I glanced back through the window of the Sheetz. The man in the windbreaker was still in his dark booth, and he was looking right at me. He raised his hand, not in a wave, but with his fingers splayed, almost like he was pressing against an invisible window between us. Then he slowly brought his index finger to his lips. We drove to my apartment in silence. My mind was racing. The taste of Jessica Morris's lip gloss was still a ghost on my tongue that I kept checking the rearview mirror, half expecting to see a pair of headlights following us. But the streets of Altoona were quiet. My apartment was a second-floor walk-up in a tired-looking building near the railroad tracks. It was messy but cleanish. Chloe kicked off her sandals by the door and padded barefoot into the living room, her burgundy toenails stark against the beige carpet. She flopped onto my couch with a sigh, stretching her arms above her head. The hem of her tank top rode up, exposing a smooth, taut strip of her stomach. I stared, my throat tight. The fear from the sheets was still there, a cold knot in my gut, but it was being steadily warmed by a different kind of tension. "So," she said, looking at me from under her lashes, "you gonna tell me what that was really about?" I sat down in the armchair opposite her, not trusting myself to sit next to her. "I told you, the soda tasted like memories. Right?" She didn't sound convinced. She tucked her feet up underneath her. "You know, if you're trying to get out of hanging out, you can just say so. You don't have to invent sentient beverage dispensers." "I'm not inventing it." The words came out sharper than I intended. "Why would I invent that?" "I don't know, Mark. Maybe because you're weird around me sometimes, you get all quiet and stare. Maybe this is your way of dealing with whatever this is." She gestured vaguely between us. She wasn't wrong, there was a whatever this was. We'd been friends since high school, but over the last year something had shifted, at least for me. The easy camaraderie had been replaced by a constant low-level static of attraction. I found myself noticing things I hadn't before. The way a stray curl would stick to her neck when it was humid, the faint scent of her perfume on my jacket after she'd borrowed it, the specific curve of her calf when she wore heels. Was distracting, maddening, and now, in the middle of this bizarre terror, it was surging to the forefront. "It's not that," I said, but it was a weak denial. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. A text from an unknown number. I picked it up. Unknown ***. "Did you enjoy the memory, Mark?" The blood drained from my face. My fingers felt numb. "What is it?" Chloe asked, sitting up straighter. I showed her the phone. Her playful expression vanished. "Who is that?" she asked, her voice a whisper. "I don't know." I typed back, my hands trembling. Who is this? The reply was instantaneous. A friend. The dew is just the beginning. The root beer is particularly potent. Remembers your grandfather's shed. A cold dread, absolute and suffocating, wrapped around my heart. My grandfather's shed. I hadn't thought about that place in 20 years. It was a dark, cobweb-filled space behind his house where he kept his tools. I was forbidden to go in there. One day, when I was 6, I disobeyed. I'd opened the creaking door and found a dead bird, its body covered in a seething mass of black ants. The smell of damp wood, oil and decay had been overwhelming. I'd screamed and slammed the door, and I'd had nightmares for weeks. "What does that mean?" Chloe was beside me now, looking over my shoulder. I could feel the heat from her body, smell the faint, clean scent of her hair. "Your grandfather's shed?" "I don't know," I breathed. "I don't know how they know that." "How do you know that?" I texted. The machine knows. It drinks too. It drinks your life, sip by sip. You should try the purple Fanta. It knows about the girl in the red coat. The girl in the red coat. A memory, buried so deep I'd almost convinced myself it was a dream, slammed into me with the force of a physical blow. I was 4, maybe 5. In a department store with my mom. I'd wandered away. I'd seen a little girl my age, wearing a bright red coat. She was standing by a rack of clothes, perfectly still, just staring at me. She had no face. Where her face should have been, there was just smooth, blank skin. I'd started crying, and my mom had found me, and when I looked back, the girl was gone. I'd never told anyone about that. Ever. I dropped the phone like it was a live wire. It clattered onto the coffee table. "Mark, you're scaring me," Chloe said. Her hand was on my back, rubbing slow circles. The gesture was meant to be comforting, but my skin was crawling with panic. Her touch felt like a brand. "We have to go back," I said, standing up abruptly. "Go back? To the Sheetz? Are you insane? Someone is texting you about your childhood trauma. We should call the police." "And tell them what? That a soda machine is harassing me?" They'll think I'm crazy. You think I'm crazy. I don't think you're crazy, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. She wrapped her arms around herself. The movement pushed her breasts together, creating a deep shadow in the neckline of her top that I looked away, disgusted with myself for even noticing at a time like this. He was there, I said. That man that he saw it happen, that he knows that I have to go back and... I don't know. Confront him. Unplug the goddamn machine. Something. Then I'm coming with you. No, stay here. Lock the door. Absolutely not. That you're in no state to drive, for one thing, and you're not leaving me alone after this. She pointed at the phone. That I knew she was right. The thought of being alone with this was worse than the thought of bringing her into it. The selfish part of me was glad she was coming. Her presence was an anchor, a tether to a reality that was rapidly dissolving. We drove back to the Sheetz in a thick, heavy silence. The parking lot was even emptier now. Only one other car was there, an old, boxy sedan parked far from the lights. The wind had picked up, rustling the leaves of the sickly-looking trees that lined the edge of the lot. The inside of the store was dead. The acne-faced cashier was gone, replaced by a middle-aged woman with a tight bun, reading a paperback novel. She didn't look up as we entered. The soda fountain stood in the center of the store. Silent and imposing. It looked innocent. Just a machine. And there he was. The man in the windbreaker. That he was standing right in front of it, his back to us. That he was perfectly still. Chloe's hand found mine and squeezed. Her palm was damp. That we walked towards him, our footsteps echoing on the tile floor. That as we got closer, I could see he was holding a small, clear plastic cup, the kind for water or sampling. That it was filled with a dark, brown liquid. Root beer. That he didn't turn around. That he spoke, and his voice was dry and raspy, like leaves scraping over concrete. It's waiting for you, Mark. My blood ran cold. How do you know my name?